Hey everybody, Steve here in Boerne, Texas. I've been driving now since sunrise. I left El Paso heading down here to this small little town about half hour to 45 minutes south of Austin. And I'm here to visit the final resting place of someone I'm sure all of you know. Her niche is right here on this wall. This is a beautiful little church. An equally beautiful churchyard. So in case there's someone watching who doesn't know who Emmy Davis is, or was, she played Alice, the live-in housekeeper on the Brady Bunch TV series that went on to become a classic of American television. She was cremated and she was laid to rest right here. And for those of you who are my age or older, you might also remember that before Alice on the Brady Bunch, she played Shultze on the Bob Cummings Show back in the late 1950s. I love that show. I fell in love with Davis back then, long before she was Alice, and everybody fell in love with her on the Brady Bunch. I mean, who wouldn't want a really fun, spunky, live-in housekeeper like Alice, right? Now, this church is on kind of a busy street, but this little courtyard here is pretty peaceful, and I think it helps that it has this really nice fountain here as well. So it's easy to see if this is where she attended service, why she would want to be buried here, or why she would want her cremated ashes interred here. This reminds me a little bit of, oh gosh, now I forget the actor's name, from the Bowery Boys, whose ashes are interred in a niche similar to this. It's actually indoors, inside of a really beautiful church like this in Pasadena, California. Check out that video if you're interested. I visited his gravesite a few years ago. Now, I read somewhere that she was a twin, and I wonder if her twin lived here in Texas, and if she'll be buried here as well, or if she'll be interred here as well. If she was married, she may have a different last name, so maybe one of these niches belongs to her. Or maybe that's what these available spots are for. And there's quite a few over here too. Personally, I can't think of a more ideal place to have my ashes interred, especially if I lived here in Texas or in this town for sure. This is so much nicer than I was expecting. I left a little after sunrise, and I'm getting here in the late afternoon. It took about 6.5 hours, I think, 7 hours. Now, I've also lost an hour or two, so I don't know, this has been a full day's journey to get here. But I'm glad I made it. I'm glad the gates were still open. I was afraid maybe they'd be closed by the time I arrived. And I'm happy to see it's a really beautiful day as well. So of all the people that I was hoping to be able to visit on this road trip back to the East Coast, Davis was near the top of the list of people that I was really hoping that I'd be able to find and visit. So I'm glad I made the extra effort to get here today. Well, I just checked into the Motel 6 down the street, probably a mile away on the same side of the street as Davis's niche. And I asked the woman at the desk how to pronounce the name of this town, and she said it's Boerne. So my Google Maps voice was correct. When I was getting off the freeway, she said, exit on such and such. You've now arrived in Boerne, Texas. So now I know how to pronounce the name of this town. Before I decided to stay here, I drove by. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't on a really busy street. It is sort of a busy street, but I was able to get a room all the way at the very back. And as you can hear, there's no noise at all. It's very, very quiet. And the place looked brand new. I thought it had just opened, and the woman said that they spent the last couple of years renovating, that they've owned it for 10 years, and I guess they've just completely renovated everything, and it really looks nice. So much nicer than the other Motel 6s, most of the Motel 6s that I've stayed in. This one does have a refrigerator and a microwave, so that's really unusual and nice. I don't have anything to put in either, but it's nice to know it's there. That looks really nice. Yeah, everything looks, like she said, really renovated. It's very clean and fresh and nice. Definitely a step way up from most of the Motel 6s where I have stayed. So I just thought I would include this really brief tour of the room. You know, most of these rooms look the same, although this definitely looks a lot nicer than most, for sure. So for those of you who like to travel, if you ever find yourself in Boerne, visiting Ann Davis's final resting place, just about a mile south on the same side of the street, is this really nice Motel 6 with a pool, and it seems to be pretty quiet. I also noticed on my drive over here that I actually drove, this street is called Main Street, and the street that the church is on and the street that the hotel is on, part of it is called Main Street, the part that goes through historic Boerne. And it's a really, really quaint little town. Looks like a nice destination for maybe weekenders, for antique shopping. It looked like a real trip down memory lane. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to spend here tomorrow. I'm going to head out early in the morning, head up to Austin to visit a couple more graves. And this week I'd like to thank my newest Patreon and PayPal supporters, Terry Kay, Andrea Chandler, Dana Pretzer, and Mark Phillipson. Thank you so much, Terry, Andrea, Dana, and Mark, for your extra generous donations to my channel. They really mean a lot and are very appreciated. So until next time, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.